again, it's Tuppence. Welcome to my channel. And it's another Froggy Friday. And I've got my frog mould. I've got a medicine cup and some bubble wrap. I'm going to use some of this orange resin pigment from J Diction and gold glitter, which I'm going to mix into some UV resin. So let me just move the mould out of the way first. And then I can add some of this Let's Resin UV resin to my medicine cup. I'm going to put about 10 ml in here. I think that's enough. I'm going to add some of this orange pigment to this. And I only want 1 or 2 drops. Come on, out you come. Okay, that will do. Then I'm going to mix that colour in. And I'm hoping that this is going to look a lot like honey by the time I add some of that gold glitter. So this is a fine glitter. Okay, that's enough. Make sure that this is all mixed in right the way down to the bottom of the cup. And now I'm going to bring in the tray to my dual-sided lamp, and I'm going to put the bubble wrap on top of that, so I'm not going to have to move that afterwards. So you have a flat side to the bubble wrap, this shiny flat side. That's going to go down, and all the bubbles are going to be on the surface, and that's what I'm going to spread this UV resin on top of. So I'm going to drizzle a pool, roughly the size that I want this to be. I'll mark the edges. I don't want to use all of this on here. I need to save some for something else. That should be enough. I can add a little bit more if I need to. And now I'm going to take this spatula. I'm just going to spread this out over the surface. I want to push the resin down into all of the dips around the bubbles and not on top of them. So just spread this out into a big enough patch that I can fit in my frog. And I think that's going to be big enough. Okay. Just going to let that settle for a minute, and hopefully it will run off the top of those bubbles. And I just want to make sure that the plastic is smoothed out and it's nice and flat, and then I'm going to pop this underneath my dual side lamp for 5 minutes. Okay, that should be all cured now, and I should be able to pull this off of the plastic. I just gently tug that away, and it should come away even on those thin bubbles. Might end up with a few bits stuck, but it looks like it's coming away pretty good. And that's going to leave me with just a few thin pieces of resin in the middle, and I can just poke those through either with my fingers or just use a pokey tool to get rid of that. But they're breaking off really easy. And it's going to leave me with something that looks like a honeycomb. So I'm just going to carry on tidying this up, remove those pieces and any plastic. And there we go. I've just got a few very small pieces of plastic that are stuck on there. I just need to pull those off, but I'm going to be trimming this to fit my frog anyway, and they should disappear in the resin if there is any plastic left. I'm going to make some eyes for my frog, so I'm going to put down a layer of clear UV resin into the small cavities of this Cabochon Mould, and I'm not filling it quite to the top. Then I can use this microbrush stick just to make sure that it levels out and there aren't any bubbles in there. I'm going to cure it with my torch because I only need the surface to become firm enough for me to draw a line on with my Sharpie. So I'll draw a vertical line across it and then put a small dot in the middle. Just leaving that to dry for a few seconds. And then I can use the same glitter that I used to make that honeycomb to back the eyes. So I'll put a layer on, and once I've got this coated and it's level with the surface of the mould, I'll pop this underneath my UV lamp to cure, and then I'll be able to pop the eyes out and fit them in my frog. Okay, it's cured, just getting the last one out now. And now I'm going to have eyes which will match the colour scheme of my frog. But before I put those in, I need to do something else. So I'm just going to move this out of the way and bring my frog on. I've marked around here with a Sharpie pen so that I know where I'm going to cut, and hopefully this should fit into my frog. So I'm just going to use a pair of scissors, and I think it is thin enough to cut. If it isn't, then I'll just heat it up a little bit with a heat gun and then I should be able to cut it, but it does seem to be snipping off all right. It's a little difficult to get the scissors in some places. I really do need to get some snips. So I'm just going to carry on cutting round. Then I can try this for size. So I don't have the eyes in here yet. I need to try and make sure that I get this the right size first. Otherwise I will end up knocking the eyes out while I'm trying to fit this in. So it looks like I need to chop a little bit more off. Just take some off of this edge. And a little bit more off of this side too. And try that again. That looks like it's a better fit. So it is sloping. It's a little higher on the back than it is on the front, but I'm okay with that. It is laying flat enough and it is filling most of the body. So now that I know that that's the right size, I can concentrate on the eyes, and I need to put a line on the back that matches the direction of the pupil. I can just about see it through this one, and I need to do the same on this one. Can't see that one quite so clearly. Just hold it up to the light and then I can see where to put the line, and that way hopefully I will get them facing in the right direction. So I'm going to put a blob of UV resin into the eye cavity, then I can drop the eye in place. And of course it goes in upside down, so I have to use my microbrush stick to turn it over. Try and get it into a position that I like, and then I can use my torch to set this in place temporarily. I can fit the other eye also, and then I'll pop these underneath the lamp to finish curing. Okay, now that I've got the eyes in, I can put this piece in. I've got it sitting on top of my Resiners curing machine tray, so I'm not going to have to move this once this is in place. And I'm going to try to gently push this in position without knocking those eyes. And then once that is in position, I'm just going to use these tweezers to try and carefully maneuver it. Get it laying fairly flat. And that's looking pretty good to me. So there's no resin in here at the moment. This is just the empty frog, except for the eyes. All right, I think that is in position and it's pretty well wedged in. So now I can mix up my resin. Okay, I've mixed up just under 3 ounces of craft resin, which is a 1:1 epoxy, and it's a low viscosity resin. I'm going to add a tiny bit of Dazzling Diamonds glitter. It's like a holographic white glitter. So I'll pop a little bit of that in for some sparkle, and then I can mix this around. My mixing machine from Resiners did a very good job of mixing this, but I just want to make sure that I've scraped the bottom and the sides so that I catch any resin that might have been missed. So I'll just mix it around for 30 seconds. Get that glitter mixed in and check that this is all mixed through properly. And that looks good, didn't take very long. I'll just scrape off my stick and clean that, and then I can start to pour in this resin. Now this frog does take 4 ounces, but I'm only going to put in just under 3. I just want to make sure that this is seated down. I don't think it will float, it's pretty well wedged in, but I don't want to fill it up so much that it will float up to the surface. So that's why I'm only putting a small amount of resin in here. And it should be able to seep through those holes. And I shouldn't get any bubbles, but you never know. So I'm just going to pour all of this in, hoping that it's enough just to cover this. And it looks like it is, or it will be if I scrape everything out of the cup. Don't want to waste any resin. Last little bit. And that looks like it has covered everything. I'm just going to take the microbrush stick and run around the inside of these holes. If there's any plastic left over from that bubble wrap, that could trap bubbles, so hopefully this will eliminate that. And then I'm just going to pop this in the curing machine, and I'm going to let this cure partially before I add the next layer. Okay, that is partially cured, so now I can add the next layer. I've already got the resin mixed up, and I'm going to add some more of the glitter to that. It's the same Dazzling Diamonds glitter. That's a little bit more than I wanted to go in there, but it'll be fine. Just mix that around. And then I can split off some of that and put it into a medicine cup, about 10 mils or so. I added some lemonade alcohol ink and some peach Bellini, although the peach Bellini didn't really add any colour at all. I wanted to get a honey colour that I could pour into the hands and the feet, but I think this was just a little too light. I didn't want to make it any darker though, as I didn't want that to run into the body. So I poured in my clear glitter resin, and that was enough to almost fill up the body. And then I took the microbrush stick and weeded out any of the bubbles. Then I added the coloured resin into the hands and the feet. I kept filling them up with the coloured resin until I had used it all up and the frog was almost full. Then I just added a few drops from the clear resin and left it to cure. I'm going to fill some small round cabochons with UV resin, and I will cure that. Now I've got some gold chrome powder which I've put into some more UV resin, and I will coat the back with a thin layer. Once I've done all four, I will pop this under my lamp to cure. Then I'm going to remove them from the mould and put them on the back of another mould. Now I'm going to take a black Sharpie and I'm going to colour in a small band on opposite sides of each of the cabochons. Now I'm going to place a large and a small cabochon next to each other so that the black pieces are touching. Then I'm going to fuse them together by placing a drop of UV resin where they join and curing that. I'll add a little more and cure that until I get a stronger bond and join the two halves together. Then I'm going to add a small bead of UV resin to the front and cure that. Once that's cured, I can pick it up and enlarge that dot. Then I'm going to turn it around and do the same on the other side. I'll put a little bit of UV resin down and add a dot to the back. Cure that. And I'm going to repeat the process to put the bum in my bumblebee. Then I'm going to flip it over and use the same Sharpie to colour in any clear resin on the back, in both the end sections and that middle section. And that gives me my bee body. And now I'm going to make the wings. I've got this Aurora Powder and I've got a little bit of UV nail gel clay. So I'm going to put that in the lid and coat that with some of that Aurora Powder, and it'll give a pearly sheen with a slightly green cast to it. I'm going to mix that in. I've got some Vaseline on my gloves so that it doesn't stick. And now you can see this is slightly pearly. So I've rolled that into a sausage and I'm going to cut that into two because I've got two bees that I want to make. Then I will re-roll this into a sausage and cut that in half, and that will give me one for each wing. So I'll roll it into a ball, and then I'm going to try to roll one side so that you get a teardrop, and then flatten it. I'll try and repeat the process. Just re-roll it into a ball, roll slightly on one side, and then flatten the teardrop. It's sticking to my gloves a little bit. And then I'm just going to take my palette knife or spatula and flatten one side. And that's pretty much all you need to do for the wings. So now I just need to attach them. I've got some UV bonding resin from Let's Resin, and I'm going to put a blob onto the mould. Then I'm going to hold the wing in a pair of tweezers, which is my nemesis. Then I'm going to scoop a little drop of that bonding resin onto the back of the bee, hold the wing in place and cure it with the torch. I'm going to repeat the process with the other wing. And once that's attached, I'm going to add a final blob of resin in the middle just to make sure that they are fully bonded and aren't likely to fall off. Once I cure that, I have my little bees. Okay, my frog is ready to demould, and I'm really disappointed in the colour in the feet, but never mind. So let me get this out of the mould. Okay, let's get that off the toe and turn him over. Well, that looks pretty cool. I really like that grid in there. He's got a little mark, which is some of that Sharpie that I used to measure that. I should have cleaned that off. But all in all, I think he looks pretty good. So now I just need to attach the bees that I made. And I'm going to use the same UV bonding resin to place these on the body. I'm going to put a drop on the bottom of the bee, and then I can hold it against the body, and because that's clear, I should be able to angle the torch just enough that it will set, and it only takes about 5 to 10 seconds. Just want to make sure that that is bonded. Then I can pick this up and shine the light from underneath as well. But it's not falling off, so I'm pretty sure it is on there. Right, so I'm going to continue to attach the other bees. So this is a Froggy Friday video, which is a weekly collaboration hosted by Lisa and Karen, ably assisted by Loula, Tim and Gert. Check my description below for the playlist so that you can find out what everyone else makes. And this is what I made, a little BeeHive frog complete with bees. I love the effect that I got from using that bubble wrap, and the bees are too cute. The only thing I'm not really happy with is the colour that is in the feet, because it looks pretty nondescript. I can see some colour, but I do wish that had been a little stronger. Otherwise, I think this is stinking cute. And if you've liked this, please give me a thumbs up, a comment, share and subscribe if you haven't. It's not going to cost you anything. Just scan that QR code on the screen. You'll be helping me out, and you can come back and see what I'm going to make next time. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye.